Okay, let's get this out of the gate. For those who say they cannot read or it's too complicated, it's not because it's complicated, but let's bring this to light. Let's bring this so you can become aware what's actually happening between our brains or between our thoughts that motive us. Right? Here's the thing. Let's make you aware. If for those who don't know who I am, I was put in special education, and they say that I have a fixed IQ, or they didn't say that, but I had a learning disability. So therefore, I act the way I act and behave the way I behave and see the way I see because of that uh, word or data or label that I've been inundated inside my head, right? And that it changed the way how I look at the world and how I look at books or learning. We see as if learning is uncool. We see as if it's a thing that is uncool. Um, we think that cool is like somehow you don't read or you have this knack for things. There are people who are don't read like Gary Vee, but but a lot of my favorite who I look up to are they read a lot like Brian Tracy or Bob Proctor. I think Tony Robbins read about 720 something books. 700, that's a lot of books. Now, whether these books can change your life, that's it's up to you. I remember there was a girl who on YouTube, she said books can't really change your life. Well, it depends on what type of book you read. Um, if you read a novel, it doesn't change your life. It just create dopamine rush, pleasure, or entertainment. Now, I have a couple of books here that I want you to see. Twilight, for some reason. But there is a difference between reading it and understanding it and applying it. So reading, like for novels, is for pleasure, for entertainment. So whether you, I was gonna read this for entertainment, but I don't have much of the time because it kind of take away my time to read other books. Um, so I have a couple books that you probably know. Grant Cardone. If you don't know him, he's a great salesman. He sells his business seminars and stuff like that, and how to sell. Neil deGrasse Tyson. Um, Your One Word by Evan Carmichael, which I really like. This book I recommend. And the new version or updated version or revised version for The Success Principle by Jack Canfield. Now, Jack Canfield, so so when we pick up a book like this, what do we see? Well, we see that it's overwhelming. We don't have time. We don't have time to read. We have so much obligation to read. For reading, is it cool? But for me, I think it's cool because I can understand things. So let's make it simple to understand. When you look, you know, school has programmed us, or I don't know who has programmed us, is that you have to read it slow to understand, right? And that so much, and it become part of us. I used to think that too. I used to think. I remember back when I was in college, I used to read it very slow, and I used to read it. So I used to read the word really slow, and I told one of my classmates, I was like, "Yeah, that's how I understand things. You know, read it slow." But that's not how your brain works. Your brain is amazing. It if you read a certain word, it can get it right away because you already know the word. It chunked it in your subconscious mind. It's been there for a while when you were a kid. It programming, even if that word was missing like letters, you can still read it. If you take out, uh, let's say it's going right, Go, and then you take the N out, but it's IG, you still know it's going because you know. or BCK or back, or BA, take out the C and K, back. You know it works. But so many of us, when we read like slow. So that's why I think it burned most people out, because when they read like books like this, it burned them out. So what I'm saying is this: it burned me out when I was reading a really huge book, but I read it from the left to the right, meaning I read it from as a whole. I was reading from left to right, like try to read it whole day, and it burned me out. It's not like manga or comic books. Comic book or manga is really fast to read. But self-help materials and books like that, to learn something, it takes time. So what can you do? Well, first you look at the cover, you look at the back. If you want to get the gist of it, usually what I do is, have you ever heard of speed reading? They have that, but I don't do that anymore. I mean, I do some. It's somewhat speed reading, but I used to play around with the idea with Ty, where Ty said he read a book a day, and I try to read a book a day, or two a day, or three a day. It became overwhelming, so I just read like whenever I can. So you see you go to the content, right? I don't know if you can see it. So you go to the content, and you pick out whatever chapter or whatever fits you. You circle it, and then you go to that chapter and read it. And as you read that chapter, let's say I go to the chapter ask, or rejection, ask. So 175. Let's go to 175. And that's how, let's say I choose that chapter and I read that. You got to ask. Asking is, my opinion, the world's most powerful and neglect secret to success and happiness. So why people are afraid to ask? Why are people so afraid to ask? They are afraid of many things, just as looking needy, looking foolish, looking stupid, but mostly they are afraid of experiencing rejection. They're afraid of hearing the word no. The sad thing is that they're actually rejecting themselves in advance. Oh wow. I didn't know that. I said, because I was experiencing rejection, but that's what it said. Oh wow, it clicked. They're saying no to themselves before anyone else has the chance to. Ask as you expect to get it. Ask with positive expectation. So when you read stuff like this, you circle it and you reread it again. But here's the thing. Most people, when they read it, they let it pass. So, okay, so let's say if I read that and I already have that in mind, and then I turn the page, where was it? I know I saw a page. I'm trying to see. All right, here we go. This one. Yeah. This is the statistic that I want you. In Herbert True, a marketing specialist at Notre Dame University, found that 44% of all salespeople quit trying to sell prospect after the first call. 24% of quit after the second call. 14% quit after the third call. 12% quit trying to sell their prospect after the fourth call. This means that 94% of all salesmen quit by the fourth call, but 60% of all sales are made after the fourth call. This revealing statistic shows that 94% of all salespeople don't give themselves a chance at 60% of the prospect buyer. You may have the capacity, but you also have the tenacity to be successful. You have to ask. As one of my students recently joked, you have to become an asshole. So when you read stuff like that, what do you do? Usually people put it by and say, oh, that's a good idea. But usually when I read this stuff like this, it makes me want to try the idea out, right? So when I read this, what did I do? I ask. I test out the idea. What I do? I ask. Who I ask? Anyone. Who I ask? Anyone. Who I ask? Authors. Who I ask? CEO. Who I ask? Celebrity. Who I ask? Anyone. You get the point, right? If they reject me, who cares? Ask again. If they reject me, ask another. If they reject me, go to the other side until I get a yes. until they they that I know that I'm getting the answer that I want, or the thing that I want. That's what I learned from this guy. This guy is great, right? This guy is one I look up to now for some. It used to be Brian Tracy, but Brian Tracy, right? I learned Brian Tracy stuff like for follow up. Like if you use ask and follow up, it's a great combination. Ask and follow up is the most combination of the amazing thing what happens if you follow up and ask. I remember I went to interview Michael Lozier, the best-selling author of The Law of Attraction. He was interviewed by Oprah 4 times. I told him I want to interview him, but it was on a year ago, and I didn't know how. And this year I want to interview him, and I asked again and again until he did it. It wasn't how I thought it would be, because I didn't came prepared. I didn't know how to interview. I have no skill whatsoever. So what happened was I wanted to interview him. It did happen, but it wasn't how it is now, right? So he guided me and taught me to do interviews, and I'm very grateful for that. So I ask and I follow up with my dream. That's how you do it. And we don't want just to read a book to remember or to feel good. We want to read a book so we can implement them in life. Or reading the context of how you see things. It changed the way you talk to yourself. It changed the way you think about yourself. It changed your behavior. It changed your results. That's why you should read. That's why you should do things different from other people. Other people in the masses, they have, not shouldn't say masses, but they have a different mindset than um, Grant Cardone, um, Jack Canfield. When I do this, it's not, about when I learned how to ask and learn about rejections and or objections and complain. I understand that. When they say something like they're busy, I understand that. I told them I understand that. No. And then I ask again. Sometimes if I get an objection, that's fine. Move to the other. It's not the end of the world. I realize that. It's not the end of the world. So that's pretty much it. Just go to the chapter, because I remember Brian Tracy said that what's the point of trying to read a book where it's irrelevant information for you now? You want to read the information that is meaningful to you now, or relevant to you now. Not because if you try to read what's irrelevant, you won't remember it. You may remember, but you won't apply it. But usually when I read something, I want something now so I can apply it right away, so I can remember. Usually when I hear or read a good idea or a good knowledge, I go out and execute, or try to experiment in execution and experiment to see what happens, and then I reconfirm and do it again, test until I get what I want. I mean, that's pretty much useful. And also, don't just read a book and put it for later or never pick up again. Reread them to refresh your mind, to refresh the ideas inside, to see what's missing, to see if you can apply different. Because you'll miss some stuff in the book that you haven't seen. Like when you read a second time, you say, "Wow, I didn't see that." You become more aware. You grow. And most people, when they say, "I know this already," what happened is they know it intellectually, right? They know it. But what happened was they don't know it by heart, or they don't know it by execution or experience. They know it just on memory. It just become like a thought. But to truly know something is to truly experience it with your mistakes, your trials and error of life. And it will have flaws, it have other things that make you hurtful or regrets in life. So, but that's pretty much it. I get, but you have to be able to not only to read it, to understand it, but to apply. It's okay to read a second time. It's okay to read a third time. As a matter of fact, I recommend it. But it's not okay what to do. Just let it sit there. Never experiment with it. Never play around with it. Because what you're trying to do is change your paradigm, change the way you see things, change your perception, change your behavior, change your results. I mean, that's why you're reading a book or reading some self-help book because you're trying to change your results, perception, trying to make your life better. Right? That's why you're trying to change. For me, that's why I'm trying to change always. I'm not in the mode of confirmation bias. That's so many people are stuck in confirmation bias, meaning they're stuck on what they know. None of it because there's no new information that's in it. So there's always stuck, and they always confirm what's right in their belief instead of seeking what's also right in other people's belief. So never get stuck on an idea that could be working for you, right? And always try. Don't give up on these ideas. Try. No, I remember Brian Tracy when I listened to his DVDs. He said most of the ideas that you try, maybe you listen to these videos that I do, maybe you kind of it didn't work out the way you wanted to. Brian Tracy said the first time through it won't work, but if you keep trying and trying, because he said I forget what he said, but he tried many times until it worked. So when it worked, you keep it and you keep that and you let go what's not working, right? So that's pretty much it that I want to get gist of. You don't have to get unstuck on a whole book. Matter of fact, this is where I got Ty Lopez from. Uh, Ty Lopez said that you should get stuck on one book. You can read multiple books at one time. It's just that most people get stuck on reading a whole book or say, oh, you're not really reading. How do you know that you're not really reading? Because if you try to read the whole book, you don't remember. You may remember, but you can't really apply all the idea. Like you want really one good idea you want to test out, and then you come back and test another idea out. That's what you want, not just to read and say you finished the book. I used to do that. I used to brag all the time. Like I read many books. Right, one time in a year I can read 400 books or 200 books. I brag, but I don't brag anymore. I just read, see some good idea, I test out, and also the reason why you should read it and increase your intelligence or audio, whatever, YouTube video, it's increasing your intelligence, increasing your ability to see, increasing your ability to see a few step ahead of more than people, give you the advantage, the edge of what people don't have. The average CEO read about 50 books per year, while the average person read one or zero. They never pick a book when they're done with school, college, or high school, right? And that these books give you insights that you never had before, and you will have principle, insights, knowledge that you never got before before you are into the personal book. And you got all these principles, all these success principles molded into you. Now you can apply them into your field of your endeavor and make you more successful and make you aware. It make you win in life, right? And as a whole, you become more happier. You become more confident because when you read books like that, they give you confidence. Like when you build knowledge upon knowledge and you execute, you have experience, you become more confident. You believe in you more. When you read knowledge, when you learn through these videos, when you become more confident in yourself, you develop the ability to believe in yourself, you develop in the ability that you can do it, that you can see your future as bright as it is, not as dim as most people see. Most people just live today to day basis, nothing else. And they don't believe in themselves. They're just stuck in their mind. They play a story in their mind in their past history and they stay stuck there forever. And they play too small. Whether that's you play too small or not, you're here to live a full life, a potential that pulls something. Because these books are molding you to become a better person. Like the reason why I read books like this, so I can add value to you, more value to you, more value to the world, and to more value to me. If I keep increasing my level of value to the marketplace, I become more valuable to you, to society, and I'm giving back, you know, and I want to help with the awareness. So I think that cover it. Yeah, that's pretty much it. And since if you're not keeping up with reading, that's okay. Just listen to audio, but read 50 books. I mean, read to keep up with the current knowledge because your knowledge base is obsoleted over time. Whether it's 2 or 3 years now, I heard it's rapidly being obsoleted. Because we live in the society of information and knowledge base now, right? So we have to recombine and combine in here. So, and that's pretty much it. Oh, and these knowledge make you become aware and make you it build skills. Build skills to, but you also should read. I mean not I mean in my opinion, I read different subjects. But I believe that you should read whatever you're also interested in, but also read stuff that is important in society. Um, Even though I say society, but also important to your life, like psychology, not the mental side, but understanding people, how to communicate with people, the brain, the mind. For me, I like to read physics, well, not physics, quantum physics, or like multiverse. Um, Spiritual stuff you can read too. The spiritual laws of nature. Maybe you play a little bit business. Maybe selling books, and not selling books, but books that teach you how to sell. What selling it doesn't mean that you're selling your like products, but it can be selling your ideas to people, selling your message to people, getting through the noise. I think it's a great thing. Marketing is one. Marriage. I have a couple of books on marriage and relationship because society don't teach you. Like I read a book on marriage. It's called Things You Didn't Know Before Marriage or Get Intimate, whatever, by Gary Chapman. He talks about how when you are getting into marriage, you're also marrying your other side of the family. They're in your life. What? Like your mother-in-law, they're staying with you when you marry, whether your husband, your wife, they're there. Like you have to interact with your your mother-in-law, your sister-in-law, your uh, father-in-law. But they didn't teach you that. They didn't teach you that you need to communicate or something like that. That's pretty much it. Like, or they didn't teach you how to deal with rejections, how to overcome objections, um, a lot of things that missing in the school system. So subscribe to my channel, like me give it, and I'll see you on the next. And that's how you read. Oh, and also have a pen with you, whether it's red or circle, whatever the answer, if you like. Oh, that's why I forget. When you read a book, not only read a book and circle and highlight whatever, also talk what you read in books so you can remember more. That's how easily or regurgitate out and recall and pull out the information. And not only that, and use it so you can remember about 90%. Because when you read a book, it's about 10%. When you hear audio, it's about 20%. 30 visual, that's 30 or 50%. But the 90 is all like visual. Wait, reading books is visual too, right? Yeah. So I can't visual um, reading using all the senses and it become part of you and you know it for the rest of your life. That's the amazing thing about having knowledge, that when you study it, you get to keep it for the rest of your life, right? You get to keep it. It's in you. It's part of you. You know it. Like it doesn't go away. So that's pretty much it. So have a great day. I'll see you.